Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about how can we create a variable using the Kotlin programming language. At first, to define a variable, it is very simple in Kotlin. Just write something like var x and then use this colon and define the data type of the variable. For example, integer. Okay? Of course, you can use int, you can use a double for numbers with a floating number, you can use float, and for text, of course, you can use string. Okay, so at first define the data type. As you can see here, the data type in Kotlin start with a capital letter, not with a small letter like C# and Java. Then you can give any value as you need, for example 10. Of course, you can define another variable like y with string, and let's call it, for example, yazan, and of course var z as a double equal, for example, 50. Yeah, as you can see here, when you assign a 50 to the double data type, it will give you error because it cannot distinguish if this is double or integer. So in this case, just give it .0. What about if this variable, for example, something like a, is with a float data type, and I try to give it, for example, 1.5. Also, in this case, it cannot distinguish if this is float or double. So in this case, you should add f at the end of the value of the variable. Now, after you have defined a variable, what about if I defined a variable by this way? W equal 10. In this case, the data type of this variable is any, which accepts any data type, because we have data type in Kotlin called any. And this data type can accept string, integer, boolean, and so on. Now, after we have defined all those variables with a different data type, let's suppose that the first one, which is x, the value of x in this case is 10. What if I try to change the variable x, for example, to 20? No problem. To 25, okay. And of course to 30. In this case, the value of the variable case is the last value, which is 30. But what if I defined a variable using the keyword val instead of var? Let's call it, for example, val b equal 25, and let's define a data type for this val, something like int, and then we give it b equal 30. As you can see here, it gives error. When you look at this error, it tells you that val cannot be reassigned, which means if you define a variable with the keyword val, it will not create a variable, but instead it will create a constant, which means you cannot change the value after you have assigned it. Now, of course, if you need to print any value, for example, you can use the same function which have been used in the previous video, println x, and of course println b, for example. Let's try to run this simple example. Okay, as you can see here, it is 30 for x and 25 for the constant value, which is b. So in this video, we have talked about how can we create a variable and a constant using the var and val keywords in Kotlin. See you in the next video.